On today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides, Pope Francis has sadly passed away, and we're taking time to honor his legacy as a global spiritual leader, highlighting the impact he made on the world. We've also got Trump speaking out on the Second Amendment after the FSU shooting, a teacher trying to explain why high schoolers should be taught about butt plugs, insane as it sounds, a liberal protester completely losing it on camera, plus CNN dropping a bombshell saying that 56% of Americans support mass deportations. All that and much more coming up on today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides, starting now.
The moment is here. This is our moment.
America, we are back, baby. Welcome to another episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides. This is episode 44 now. I already talked to you guys about my topics today. I want to dive right on into everything today. We don't have a crazy amount to talk about, but I do want to start with talking about Pope Francis. Pope Francis did pass away last night. Whether you're a Catholic or not, this is a time of reflection. This was a man who led over 1 billion Catholics across the globe, and no matter what you want to say about politics or religion or anything, he was a man of deep faith who lived to serve the people. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, he became the first pope from the Americas and the first Jesus to ever lead the Catholic Church. He chose the name Francis in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi, a symbol of humility, simplicity, and a care for the poor, and that really defined everything about him. He always focused on the forgotten, the marginalized, and people struggling. He was a great pope, like I said, who served billions of Catholics around the world, and I think today we should honor his legacy and continue to do that in the future. And as there's more information on who the new pope will be after they do decide, I will, of course, keep you guys updated on that information as well. I do want to show you guys some videos we do have today. There's been some crazy things happening around, but I want to show you guys a video of Donald Trump talking about the Second Amendment. We all know about the FSU shooting that happened last week. I reported on it, and I'm sure you guys have heard about it otherwise as well. But 5 students were killed and 4 were injured in this shooting. The shooter, or there were 2 shooters, but one of them stole the firearm from their mother. They then used this firearm to carry out the shooting. The firearm was a former service pistol, but after people who are police officers, things like that, when they get issued a new gun, they get the ability to buy their old service gun at a discounted rate. So this was that weapon, it seems like. I don't think any new gun control laws would have stopped this, and Trump talks about that here. And I'm going to show you guys this video, and I'll dive more into the gun control aspect of everything right after.
There are now 2 deceased following that shooting at Florida State University. Following and amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our
Well,
country?
I'm going to have to look. I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it, and these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida. And we'll have more to say about it later.
What do you mean when you say there will be more to say about it?
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment, among many other things, and I will always protect the Second Amendment.
Trump said there, it's the president's obligation to uphold the Constitution. The Second Amendment is one of the most, if not the most important part of the Constitution, because it's what protects everything else in the Constitution. Without the Second Amendment, the First Amendment immediately goes away. If they were to take our guns, next would be our right to assemble, our freedom of speech, and things of those natures. So I'm very glad that Trump is, sticking by what he ran on, upholding the Constitution, keeping the Second Amendment the way it is. I don't think limiting, law-abiding citizens' access to firearms would stop non-law-abiding citizens from shooting up schools or shooting things up. That's one of the poorest arguments. The better argument is the mental health argument, but just to explain why it's such a poor argument, you're going to take guns away and limit access to guns to citizens who would never commit these crimes, to law-abiding citizens, but you are going to... It's like similar to drugs. It's like if drugs are illegal, people still do drugs. People still find drugs. If you take the guns away from the good people, the bad people are still going to have guns. They're, like the guns with the serial numbers shaved off are not just going to get turned in gun buyback programs and gun confiscations and things like that. That is the last way it would operate. So if you took away gun access to law-abiding American citizens and only left it in the hands of the non-law-abiding citizens, it would end up in chaos. And if you end up in a situation where only the police and military and government has guns and no citizens have guns, then again, we lose our First Amendment rights. So I completely agree with Trump. I think the way to address this is the mental health crisis in our country. My generation is currently the most drug addicted, most depressed generation in history. We're the first generation to have it worse off than our parents since George Washington's. I think this is a travesty. I think this is something that it's one of the biggest reasons Donald Trump won by such a landslide, because the young population sees him as such a positive for our generation and that he can turn around all the things that have been going negative for us. We can't afford houses, wages are too low, taxes are too high, and the government is continuously trying to overstep on our rights, and we're not okay with that. They tried to limit free speech. They constantly try and limit the Second Amendment, and it's something that, as an American, someone that if you cut my skin open, I would bleed red, white, and blue. I am not okay with the government's constant overreach, and I'm not okay with the way things have gotten for my generation. It's time for things to change. Charlie Kirk started this movement, and it's time for my generation to step in and help and finish it. I really think that young conservatives are the future of this generation. I don't think limiting the Second Amendment would have helped this scenario. I don't think it would have changed this scenario, and I think liberals continuously pushing gun control debates don't understand the full grasp of what they're doing. The liberals and the government do, but your average everyday liberal who just listens to CNN and thinks that getting rid of all the guns is the smartest move needs to study on American and world history and understand why giving all the power and weaponry in the country to the government is not a smart move. This is something that I feel like I shouldn't have to explain. Any American civics or American history class that you learn in middle school or high school should go over this, but for some people it obviously didn't. I do want to go on to some of our next topics. I don't want to stay on any one topic too long, but I want to go on to, we have a few different videos to show today, but I want to show another video that, this one is crazy ridiculous. This is of a teacher, a sexual education teacher in a high school, talking to a parent. This parent is very upset with this teacher, and rightfully so. You guys will see why, and then right after, I'm going to destroy and pick apart this video.
On butt plugs. And I said that I think that in high school groups, where unfortunately we know that students are having sex, and that I think that safe sex is always important, safe sex practices are always important, and that is a type of, that's queer sex, so that's not heteronormative sex, and then you called it disgusting. So you told me that the sex that my counterparts have is disgusting, and I don't see how that is not openly homophobic.
The reality is it's not openly homophobic, because that means that you think...
So call queer sex disgusting?
You
don't think that's homophobic?
That means that you think that only homosexual couples use butt plugs.
No, they absolutely don't.
Heterosexual couples use butt plugs as well.
So do you think that just butt plugs are disgusting?
And so I'm saying that teaching children, minors, about this is disgusting.
Right, so I guess that comes into abstinence-only education versus safe-sex education.
No, it's not abstinence only. It's not safe sex. At the end of the day, a butt plug is not going to create a child. It's not going to have an issue on a person that relates to their catching an STD, unless the actual butt plug is not properly sanitized.
Exactly, and I think that's what that book was detailing, is how to safely use those instruments.
Educate children on how to use butt plugs. Children, if you're an adult and that is what you want to do, if that's what stimulates you and gets you off, have at it.
Sexy time.
Are you a parent?
I'm not a parent.
Oh, so you're not a parent. Okay. And you are a parent?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What the hell is even that?
And so, as a father, 2 boys and a girl, I don't want anyone teaching my child how to use sex toys of any kind. That is.
I didn't realize it. I mean, I guess I did because I've seen a lot of liberals talking about this over the last few years, but it's crazy to me that this is controversy, that this is a controversial topic in our country, whether we should be teaching kids things like this, whether we should have books in children's schools that are just disgustingly sexual and things that children don't need to read. But yeah, I don't understand the liberals' obsession with teaching kids about just obscure sex things. When I was in middle school and high school and we had our, formal sex education, you learned about procreation, you learned about, how sex works, what it does, the potential consequences with diseases, pregnancy, things like that. Why are kids learning about butt plugs? Why are kids learning about sexual toys and things of this nature? Minors do not need to be taught this and should not be taught this. Minors are legally not even able to go into a sex shop and purchase these items. Why should they be being taught this? That's like teaching a kid about how to maintain their drinking levels. You don't teach them that because they're not legally able to drink. You don't teach kids about butt plugs and dildos and things like this when they legally can't even walk in a store and buy them. It is grotesque, disgusting, and borders on grooming. I don't know what this teacher thinks they're doing. I don't know what the liberal agenda is doing, pushing this and allowing this. The fact that our schools are so infiltrated with teachers like this is the reason that Republicans are going after the Department of Education so hard. Since the Department of Education is formed, we are lower in testing, reading, math, science, writing, every single aspect we are lower in than where we were when we started it. The only thing that's higher is the amount of money we spent. So on January 20th, President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14172, naming the body of water off of Southwest Florida the Gulf of America. Now we're bringing the Gulf of America right to your door. If you're looking to show your patriotism and rep the Gulf of America, go on madeInswiffle.com to get your Gulf of America gear. Hats for $15, shirts for $20, and koozies are just $5. It's simple, affordable, and made right here in America. MadeInswiffle.com. Get all your Gulf of America gear shipped right to your door anywhere in the USA. The more money we're spending, the dumber our children are getting. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be the exact opposite. And the reason it's got this way is because the amount of money that's completely wasted on middle management in schools, or middle management's not the right word, but the equivalent to middle management, just administrators, not teachers, is ridiculous. The amount of ridiculous, dumb, and just tenured teachers who should be fired and things of this nature that are corrupting our school systems is through the roof. This teacher right there is a prime example of a teacher who should be fired and should honestly be given an order to stay 500 feet away from a school. You should not be talking to minors about sex toys. That is grooming. That is disgusting. There is no need for it in sexual education in high school or middle school. I went through sexual education in middle school and high school. I didn't learn that. No one in my school learned that. No one in my county learned that growing up. No one that I ever met learned things like that growing up, and they all ended up okay. So I think teaching kids these things it's on the teacher. It's them thinking, oh, it's something I should teach them. No, it's not. You're just grooming these children or doing whatever weird things you're doing to these children's minds. But it should not be happening. It should not be okay to talk to minors about sex toys. Like I said, it's the equivalent to teaching a kid how to manage their drinking. You don't teach a kid something that's illegal for them. They can't walk in a sex shop and buy these toys. Why are you teaching them about them in the first place? I don't understand it. I want to go on to some of our next topics. We have a few different videos of just liberals acting ridiculous. We're going to play another one right now. This is at one of the hands-off protests that is happening around the country. They seem to be happening every few Saturdays. The next one that I hear about and I'm able to go to, I'm going to go to interview some people firsthand, hopefully get some good videos of just liberals acting delusional like this. But I'll play this video for you guys right now.
Men can't control their emotions and abuse women.
Men can't control their emotions?
Yes, and abuse women.
You seem like you can't control their emotions.
Excuse me, I'm angry. I'm angry and I'm loud. That's not emotional. That's called being persistent and passionate. And all the football coaches who yell at their little boys and say that's not emotional. Okay. That's a man.
I want to say I'm pro-life.
Your testosterone is what makes you illogical and emotional.
Disgusting.
I don't like. I'm at a loss for words. I just watched that video again. It's one of the most ridiculous things. There's a few different points in the video I want to address that she made. I like that he just stood there, didn't really argue with her a ton, and just let her talk. A lot of these conservatives in these videos, they interject every possible second they get, argue back and forth, which I don't disagree with. Debate freely with them. I honestly love that content as well. But when they are just going off, yelling, saying dumb things, let them talk. Liberals' own worst enemy is themselves by far. The reason that liberals lost the election in 2024 was liberals. It was their own stupidity. The fact that the biggest things right now in the Democratic platform are DEI, not cutting government spending, wasting tax dollars, allowing immigrants just freely to pour over the border without vetting them, and allowing men and women's sports. Those are the 4 biggest platforms that Democrats are currently running on and talking about and making issues about in the country. Things that the vast majority of Americans do not agree with. The woke agenda is dying. It was here from 2017 through a little past COVID, but over the last year, 2 years, the woke agenda is dying out. People are starting to get sick of it. They're starting to realize how absurd it is. But to get back into this video with this lady, I want to talk about her first point she made about, I'm not angry, I'm just yelling, I'm persistent. No, you being angry is you being over emotional. So it's your first wrong argument right there. It's a laughable moment. I love that he didn't interject and he just let her keep going right after that, like I said. But then for her to say, it's like the male football coaches who yell at their players and say, she says be a man, but she basically equates that to what she's doing. So her standing on the side of the road holding up a sign that she can't practically defend is the equivalent to a male encouraging younger males to do positive things in their life. That's stupidity. That's delusion. That's utter nonsense. There's a lot of different synonyms I could use to describe how dumb that is, but this lady obviously has little to no common sense, very little control over her emotions, a lack of IQ, for lack of better words, and yeah, I mean, this lady has no clue what she's talking about, but for her to equate, inspiring football coaches who, yeah, they'll raise their voices at their players, because men and women operate differently. When you yell at women, it's different than when you yell at men. When men yell at men to inspire them, it is truly inspiring. Men don't yell at women in the same way when they're coaching them or going through things like this, because it's not the equivalent. Men and women are not the same. Yes, they are equal in rights, equal in value and things like that, but they are not they're not equivalent at all. They are two completely separate different things. They operate different ways. Their brains work different ways. They react to different things. They think about different things. Socially, physically, everything about men and women is different. So for this woman to even think that is a valid equation is just utter nonsense. And then again, for her to say that your testosterone is the problem. It's another problem I have with liberals and the current woke agenda, and it's one of the biggest reasons that Charlie Kirk is so popular, Donald Trump was so popular, the UFC is so popular, and because people have told men to stop being men for a decade, maybe 2 now. They have pretty much shamed men for everything that makes them men. They've shamed men for their testosterone and for the things that it does for them. On January 20th, President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14172, naming the body of water off of Southwest Florida the Gulf of America. Now we're bringing the Gulf of America right to your door. If you're looking to show your patriotism and rep the Gulf of America, go on madeInswiffle.com to get your Gulf of America gear. Hats for $15, shirts for $20, and koozies are just $5. It's simple, affordable, and made right here in America. MadeInswiffle.com. Get all your Gulf of America gear shipped right to your door anywhere in the USA. They've shamed them for their reactions to things. They have shamed them for their just everything that makes a man has been shamed over the last 2 decades, and there are so many younger men who have fallen cowardice to this and fallen into this trap of like, oh, I can't act how I want to act and be a man because I'm going to be called out by the liberals who are in my town. People who live in New York City, California, various liberal places around the country can't act how they want to be or scared to act how they should act. And they act more like liberals than they do men. They don't let their testosterone do what it should be doing for them. I think men need to be men again in this country, and I don't know why that's a controversial statement. I don't think men should be shamed for being men and their testosterone the same way women shouldn't be shamed for being women and their estrogen. It is a very ridiculous thing to blame his hormones. It would be the equivalent to if he made a period joke right back to her. So this woman's utter delusional nonsense this is the video of the week for sure, because I don't know, it definitely gave me a good laugh watching this. I do want to go on to our last topic today, and it's one more video I want to show you guys. This video is a CNN video, actually, so surprising that CNN said this. CNN usually loves to hide the truth when it doesn't favor them, but over the last couple months, they've definitely came back a little more, started reporting slightly more reasonably on things, definitely still very delusional and misreporting and a lot of fake news coming from them, but they have realized that their lack of viewers is due to their lack of credibility, so they have started to try to be a little bit more credible with certain things. I'm going to play this video for you guys where they talk about how the majority of Americans support deporting every single illegal immigrant in the country.
CNN this morning had a poll. 56% of Americans want every single illegal alien deported. 11 million illegal aliens deported, 56%. It's up from 38% in 2016. Trump is winning this, and he's winning it because people feel like he is fighting for them. And that's kind of how I feel about this list. Like, it would have been enough if Trump had only taken on Wall Street. It would have been enough if he had only taken on the gangbangers. It would have been enough if he had only started reshoring manufacturing. If he had only gotten rid of this guy who beat his wife up, which by the way is a deportable offense. And yet he's done all of these things. And I think most Americans look at that and they say, not that he's weaponizing things, but that he is fighting our fights for us.
Donald Trump is fighting for us. He's fighting for you. He's fighting for me. He's fighting for the American people and everything America stands for. Joe Biden illegally brought in 11 million illegal immigrants into this country. It was a full-scale invasion, the vast majority of them being military-age men, not women and children, not families, and there were over 300,000 sexually trafficked children across the border. This was a full-scale invasion. This was crime happening left and right. This is something that needs to be corrected, that Donald Trump is currently correcting with his strong executive actions, strong border policies, and his support of border enforcement. You heard Kamala and Joe Biden saying, we need a border bill, we need a border bill, we need a border bill. And then Trump didn't pass a border bill. They didn't pass one, but Trump signed executive actions, and now we have record low crossings at the border, over a 99% drop. We need a border bill. We need a border bill. That's what the liberals cried. Why won't they let us have our border bill? Because you're trying to shove an extra $100 billion in there for Ukraine. Because it wasn't a border bill. Because it was money laundering and tax fraud. Because it was waste, fraud, and abuse by our government. It wasn't a border bill like they said. It was just BS. I'm so glad we have Donald Trump as our leader. I'm so glad we have someone who cares about the American people, the American taxpayer, and is willing to put Americans before illegals. I think we should allow immigrants into this country. I think there should be a temporary pause on it. I think we need to take care of our homeland before we start taking care of the citizens of everyone else's countries. I don't think that should be a controversial statement. The same way you would take care of your family before you took care of people outside of your house, you should do that with your own country. The president should take care of its citizens before it takes care of the citizens of every single other third world country in this nation. I'm James Pascalides. This has been episode 44 of America Unfiltered. I'm signing off today. I hope you guys have a blessed Monday, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. On January 20th, President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14172, naming the body of water off of Southwest Florida the Gulf of America. Now we're bringing the Gulf of America right to your door. If you're looking to show your patriotism and rep the Gulf of America, go on madeInswiffle.com to get your Gulf of America gear. Hats for $15, shirts for $20, and koozies are just $5. It's simple, affordable, and made right here in America. MadeInswiffle.com. Get all your Gulf of America gear shipped right to your door anywhere in the USA.